Hello there, everybody. I'm here to show you how to set up Vade's new texture for Artemis. The Artebatsu, Amaterasu. I don't really know how to say the name, but anywho, I'm gonna show you how to set up. So you're gonna open up your project, open up your folder, and then get the Unity package and drop it into the scene, or go to Assets, drop it directly into Assets. And then it will show up on an Artemis Wolf and expansion textures and here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 custom materials for this particular texture set. I help him set it up because, well, I understand the avatar like the most, set up the shaders, and all that other stuff. He did all the text work. I made some extra masks and stuff so that it would work better. Um, Sadly, his substance painter decided to shit itself, so I went ahead and just did the masks myself. Anywho, uh, so what I would do is choose which one that you want this texture set to be on. So what I did is I just went Control D. So we're just going to turn off this one, and we're going to set up this. I put it on Luna Mistress because this outfit set already kind of works for it. And what you'll do is, if you want the core set to be black, you just drag this up to the core set black. If you want the Sugar Mama red, which is currently what I have on here, you throw that on there. Then you go to the body Luna. So switch it to this one. Here, Matsu. Throw it there. Then you go top left main. Put that one on. That one on. On. That one on. That one on. That one on. Okay. And specifically for this one, is that you will also do it on this, and then the because you just don't know which one it is. Set it on there, and then that looks pretty good, right? So that's that part set up. All right, and then you see this two particle looking things here. Oh yeah, one other detail. All right, so there's mouth detail Luna. So there's two different ones. The first one is Red Eye, which basically has set up to have a hue shift red sclera. Also, the body, this is like very important, the body hue shift is in the radials as the eye hue shift, because originally the body's not really set up for hue shift. However, with this texture set and the fact that unlike how I do it, where I turn on tattoos on and off, this one's pretty much permanently on. So I was like, let me do that. So the eye hue shift is already set up to animate the eye and stuff. And these materials are already set up to be animated in such a way. So if you want a red sclera that hue shifts to the different ones, although like purple and stuff kind of look pink, you'll use this material. However, if you just want white sclera or white eye, Alio White Tie, which is the one I like more, is you'll throw that one on. And so then you'll have white sclera. Also, this is not in this expansion. However, there is already an eye set up for it. Is these two timber eyes. As I like this timber eye red with the white on the inside. I think it looks the best for this texture set. All right. Right. All right. So body is now set up. That's all you have to do. Now, if you want the flames to match the look, you'll go over here. You go to the flame burst, go to the render, and you'll make it a white flame burst. And you see that there's two, which is flame blade, render. Yeah. So now the spear is set up for that. Now, if you want the full effect, you'll open up your particles deal, go flame tails, spawn in, fire steps. You'll open the fire steps pretty much fully. For all of the things that we need to do. All right. So what you can do is you go to the fire spin here, here, here. So there's these three. These all use the same particle. They just act in different ways. So white fire burst here, white fire burst, and also these are hue shiftable particles. And then white flame. Yeah, fire burst, flame burst. So fire deal, and you want to check it out. Let's turn it on. Click on here, hit restart. Boom. Okay, your nice little spawn in deal. Woo! Do not turn off fire spin, turn off spawn in. And on fire steps, we could turn those on. Right? So it's not this. This is how you can move this up and down to test out the flame particles. But be sure that this position step back to 0, otherwise it won't really work well. It can still work if it's slightly off, but it just won't work well. This is the subparticle trigger, and then this is the actual fire particle trigger. This, all right, so this one will actually get this, which actually lessens the texture sheets. But I have found that switching this over to -2 gravity modifier looks a lot better. And then this one needs to be tiny flame white. Then we go over here to stepping reset. Boom. Oh no. But you say, why is that doing that? Ah, that doesn't look good. Well, we do have to do one more change. So originally this particular particle was a 6x6. We need to change it to an 8x8 because this particular texture sheet is an 8x8, and you can count that by literally counting the number of little. So now, oof, oof. I'm actually quite proud of the little white flame for that. And you're like, Lance, it's still white. Also, if you interact with veto, so you could actually kick things that interact with any of these things: fire, burn, hot, flame, heat. melt, torch, attack, damage, parry, defect. So you can actually, this one, parry detect, is Lindy assets. So you could parry with your feet. Same thing with the claw hands. So then you go down here. So this is actually this fire. And then you'll switch this. Um, just doing that to bring up the folder so I don't have to like look through my folders. And then white flame burst. Woo! And then over here, do the same thing while we're at it. Um, Now you don't want to throw it on here because then these two materials will be merged and they won't function right. So you want to make sure you put it into the material slot. And then tiny flames. We'll get the white. And then this one, we'll get this white. Double check. Okay. Then this, we got to change this to 8 by 8. And then that's all I have to do on that. And then change this to -2. All right, and then we'll test it. Poof. Cool beans. Looks pretty sick. All right, and then we'll turn off. Oh, let's turn off fire steps. And then flame tails. So flame tails is really just two different tails. So when the avatar itself gets moved around, it does a little woof off the mane and off the tail. It's like poof, 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 poof. So in case you're wondering what that does, poof, poof. It's kind of fun. Control Z. Then we change these to white flame burst and ba, 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 ba. White flame burst. Then when we move it around while it's on, yeah, foof, 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 foof. Now you also have the fire eyes that you can turn white if you want to just like copy the way these are set up. You can make fire eyes white. And the fire eyes are on armature, hips, spine, chest, neck, head, flame eye post, flames. However, I actually kind of like them being red, but that's just me because when the hue shifts, it kind of matches really well. So I decided not to make a new material for this. Also, this is where Feral Stare is. So in case you are wanting to get rid of that, it is directly on the head, and that's because of the way that it has to be to work properly. Because parent constraint doesn't really work with the way that it's set up. All right. Now, if you want these little embers to be white, you go to like the sparks. You can just literally just change this color just to be white. I didn't feel like I needed to make a new material for that. And then, so there's but they both use the same deal, so you only have to do one. And so there's spark and then there's movement spark. So like say it move can I move a model container around? Yeah. So there's like sparks that fall off when you move it. And then there's floating sparks. Let's say that you want uh these to be a little bit bigger. You can actually go here and be like point zero 0.05 and bump these up to like 1 and grab the model container and just kind of then get a little bit bigger sparks. Poof, poof. In case that's something that you want. Um, so you could turn off this weapon system and it will still fully function if you don't like one in the scene. I just leave it on because it doesn't matter either way because it automatically gets turned off. Because yeah. So weapon stuff gets turned off, but everything else gets turned on. So that way, like you turn it off, but since this thing over here automatically turns it back on, so I feel like you just don't want to see it. In your scene, like say you're working on something else, don't worry if you turn it off, it'll still work. And then make sure you turn off fire tails. Also, if you want to have it to where particles don't turn on, you can make a toggle for particles. However, um, your spawn audio and stuff won't work. So you can make a toggle that turns this off, this off, this off, and this off. Um, on this one, I didn't really have in mind of like turning off particles. So yeah, but most of the particle systems are on here unless you're like the sword and stuff. So yeah, there's just a lot of particle systems. Um, yeah, and then like the milk's a particle system, and yeah. But I think that's it. And then you just go to upload. However, I do recommend go into gesture manager, go into play mode, make sure everything works first. So I'm just gonna do that. All right, now that we're back in play mode, I'll make sure everything is working properly. Here, head, here, radials. All right. Those are all the right colors and such. Turn off variable. This one has a slider. Most of the time they don't have sliders, but depending on like what's on them, I'll turn some things into sliders for parameter compression. Basically customization type stuff. It's mainly because of face tracking. And then actually I realized that the first person snoot doesn't have to be network synced because it's only me. I can actually take that off as a parameter deal. I just thought about that. Let's see. All right, hues. This is the thing I was mainly. Let's. I know we'll do it. So I hue is going to be your body color, but there's also a matte cap hue. think it's secondary. No, it's. The fuck? Ah! Okay, so I goofed. This. Oh, I know what happened. I animated the other one, so my black is this one. So yeah, this actually needs to be fixed. Okay, so I'm glad I went into play mode. Right, and then go back up to here. Gesture manager, boom, boom. Turn off the tops, turn off the bottoms. That way we can see the rest of this. Turn off the coats. So the main emission is a white and the blue. And then you have your Mac Cat emission. Well, the main emission also does some different Mac Cat levels, so it's like really not labeled fully correct. But yeah. Main hue, secondary hue, which that was the thing I was trying to say, is there is a Mac Cap over this. So you can kind of mix and match to get really interesting color combinations. The main hue is also like that. So, you know, you can mess around with that, get some pretty nice colors with this. Right. Cool beans. I don't know if I'm going to include this in here. But all I really need to do is this, hue shift, right click, animated, and then this should work. But I think I'll leave this in the video. Yes. So now when we hue shift, yeah, so that will not hue shift. If I'm not mistaken, on mine, I'm actually using different one. No, no, it's that one. Okay. Wait, no, I said mine. Silly. Yeah. See, I animated this one. Okay, so that's why. Yeah. All right. That's it. Hopefully you learned something and don't have any issues. Hopefully this video is just, you know, nothing goes astray. But yeah, catch y'all next time. Yeah, you'll probably see me wearing it around.